Hello everyone, how you doing? Team Business Forum members. I'm here with Nick Tart, the owner of Junior Biz, and he recently just wrote a book called 50 Interviews, Young Entrepreneurs, Volume 1. In that book, Nick's already yawning, but that's okay. In the interview, Nick interviews 25 young entrepreneurs between the ages of 12 and 23. So Nick, welcome. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jack.
So Nick, everyone wants to know, who are you? What's the backstory of the book, and how did you come up with the idea?
All right, so I am Nick Tart, like you said, and I am a young person, a young entrepreneur, someone who became really passionate about youth entrepreneurship about 2 or 3 years ago when I started a company because I realized there's a real need out there. Like, no one teaches young people about business, and I want to be that person who does that. So the book was really a passion project for me. Like, I knew that I wanted to talk to all these young people that I've learned a lot from, and interviewing them for a book was probably the best way to do that. So I found the publisher, 50 Interviews, proposed the idea to him. He liked the idea, recruited the partner, and then we just got started with the questions first. We put a lot of work into the questions, and the process of developing questions to elicit responses around just inspiring people and teaching them how to get started. And then we just started contacting all the young entrepreneurs that I knew that were on our list that I really wanted to interview, and just kind of rolled from there. And then we published it about a month and a half ago, so about 6 weeks ago.
How did you come up with that list of entrepreneurs? Did you have certain ones that that fit a different niche, and that you wanted to cover certain niches?
Yeah, actually, so it started because I had a list of young entrepreneurs that I've learned from. Three of the first blogs that I ever found were Michael Dunlop's, Alex Frazier's, and Stanley Tang's. And so I kind of started the list with those three people, knowing that I wanted to talk to them and, for one, thank them for getting started, because they were the people who kind of got me started. And then I also found other lists online, like the top 25 young entrepreneurs under 25, and the top 20 internet entrepreneurs under 20, and chose the best ones, like Catherine Cook and Julia Brindak, and spent a couple months trying to figure out how to get a hold of them. And then that's how we got some of the bigger names. And also Michael Dunlop made a few introductions for us along the way too. So yeah, it's just one of the things about this niche, Jack, I'm sure you're aware of too, is all the young entrepreneurs are connected somehow.
Yep.
That's part of what they do. And that's part of the reason that you have your site, is to connect all the young entrepreneurs. So like Michael Dunlop, he knew pretty much everyone that we interviewed for the book before I ever mentioned people. And it's just a giant network. And that's one of the cool things about the book, is that you can get in with this network if you read it, and you have a perfect in with these people. If you say, yeah, I read your interview in this book, I just want to chat and see what your thoughts are about my website. Yeah, that's kind of how we got started with everything.
Sweet, nice. So you mentioned you have a partner. How did you find him? And what does he do, and what do you do?
Yeah, so Nick Scheides, he is my best friend from high school and college. We went to both high school and college together. However, that's not the reason that I recruited him. The reason that I recruited him to help me with this book is for the simple fact that he's one of the smartest people I know, and I knew that he was going to do a good job, and I knew that he was going to put a lot of effort into it, because that's kind of his character. So work really hard and do a quality job. And yeah, so I went to him and I said, hey, do you want to write this book with me? He's like, yeah, I guess so. I guess I can help you do that. And one of the coolest backstories about the book, Jack, is right after the first interview, we interviewed Emil Notichka. He's a kid with a 6-figure lawn mowing business. He made 6 figures in high school, and doing a little bit more than that right now. But the very first interview, they started to click with Nick that, like, hey, like, here's a kid who's doing something that he loves, making a lot of money doing it. Why can't I do that? And so going through the book and writing the book and doing all 25 interviews was really mind-blowing for Nick, because he had zero interest in entrepreneurship before we started. He just knew that he was a good writer. So that's one of the coolest things, is seeing my best friend kind of develop into an entrepreneur based on the book that we wrote. So it's cool. He's a good partner.
All right. So what you just said made me think of a question that wasn't on my list, but it's a good one. Entrepreneurs, do you think they're made or born?
Ooh, this is one of the biggest questions that we all get asked, and I really think before we started the book, I really thought they were made, or you develop into an entrepreneur. But I'm starting to notice that there are a lot of commonalities in like the personalities between all the people we interviewed, and I've started to realize that maybe it is something that's a little bit innate in us, that we want to go out and take these risks. We want to work without getting paid, and we have this burning desire to learn how to do things that some other people don't necessarily have. I think anyone can be an entrepreneur, but I think some of us have a substantial head start based on just our desire to be successful in what we want to do and our desire to put in a lot of work. And so I think I would lean towards made still, but I think there's something to it. I think there's something to entrepreneurs being born. Because, I mean, one of the other things about this book, too, is that all these kids, I call them kids, some of them are 23 years old. But all of them got started in business when they were really, really young. Like Michael Dunlop sold Pokemon cards. Arjun Rai had like a garage sale. They all, like Keith J. Davis Jr., he sold bubblegum in his middle school and high school. And it's just like all of these kids did something way before they started these businesses. So I'm not sure on that one. It's a tough question. Because obviously it's a reason it's a big debate.
Yep. So you mentioned there were some commonalities between all the entrepreneurs that you interviewed. Were there certain traits that surprised you?
The first thing that comes to mind coming back to all this is the humility out of all of them. Like Catherine Cook, she's running a $20 million business, but when you sit down and talk to her, she's just like any other person. And one of the things that she mentioned in the book is she doesn't like to talk to other people about her business just because it becomes like the conversation. She would rather talk about and learn about other people. And then when they happen to ask her, oh, what do? You're just going to school. And she's like, actually, I've kind of got this business that I'm running, and I've got 85 employees living 600 miles north of where I'm going to school. And humility is huge, Jack. It's absolutely blew me away. Like, I thought for sure we'd run into a few of them that were just like, yeah, I'm doing all these cool things and I know it and everything. But every single one of them was absolutely humble in their approach to entrepreneurship. So that's the biggest surprise for me.
Cool. So were there some differences between the entrepreneurs that you interview that were, very clear distinctions?
Yeah, there were a couple differences. The first one is around planning. Like one of the questions we asked them was like, how did you plan and organize your business? And a few of them said, yeah, I wrote out a business plan. I had a plan of action. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And then Adam Horowitz, for example, he just got going. He just did it. He thought about it and then did it the next day. And he didn't do any sort of planning. He said all of it was up in his head. And he just had a really good memory. So that was a big difference between a few of them. Some of the other ones is like responses from friends and family. Overall, most of it was very positive, and like friends saying like, yeah, you're doing really cool things. I understand that maybe you can't go out with us this weekend or go to the pool at night sometimes, and but I understand that you're busy with your business, and I respect that. And then Andrew Fashion, on the other hand, he had a couple friends backstab him. He ended up buying a car or two for a few of his friends, and they never paid him back. And so he really experienced some false friendships through all the success that he was having. He was pulling in $100,000 checks every month for about 2 years, and so when your friends realize that, some of them might take advantage of you. So, and there was some big discrepancies. Most of all, in general, there are a lot more commonalities between the entrepreneurs than discrepancies, but those are two of them.
So how has the responses from your family been? To know that you were, writing a book, starting businesses.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things too. Is a lot of the young people, their family, it's just normal life to them. Like Philip Hartman, he's the 2008 Young Inventor of the Year, and he's like, yeah, my parents just think it's kind of normal for us to be doing this at this point. And so I'd definitely say that my family is kind of in the same boat. You know, like it's almost expected that I'm doing these things. You know, it's just like, hey, mom and dad, I published a book, and they're like, oh, cool. So what are you gonna make for dinner? You know, yeah, they want to know. But to other people, I mean, it's a lot more impressive, and you know, I'm kind of in the boat where I don't think it's that impressive. You know, I went through all the hard work and everything, but I still believe that anyone can do what we did, and anyone can do what a lot of these young entrepreneurs are doing. Um, it's just a lot more surprising to complete strangers than it is friends and family.
Has your life changed? You know, since publishing the book, have people kind of come up to you and say, "Hey, you're Nick Tart." You know, how does
Yeah.
thing change?
We released it about a month and a half ago, and we haven't had too many like random approaches from
Yes.
people. I just got back from a family vacation out in North Carolina, and it was a family reunion with like 30 of my relatives. Of course, they all knew about the book through Facebook, so they kind of had some good questions for me while I was there, which is a lot of fun to answer. And sold 10 books to the family members, so that's always good. Um, but as far as how my life has changed, I think I've never had a more clear vision of what I want to do with my business, Jack. And it's like, again, it's all up in my head right now. I know exactly what I want to do. And like we were talking about your vision for Teen Business Forum before the interview, and like it's so clear in my mind exactly how it's going to work at this point, that I have no doubt that it's not going to work. It's just a lot of hard work to get to the point where I want it to be. And so that's the main thing, is that we went out and talked to all these people. We've got advice from the top 25 young entrepreneurs around the world. It's advice that no one else really has at this point. And so we just combined everything that we've learned from all of them. And we're in the very beginning stages of starting to implement the things that we learned from the book. And that's going to be one of the main things that we really reference over the next several months is, all right, this is what we learned from Juliet Brindak. This is what we learned from Michael Dunlop. This is what we learned from Adam Horowitz. And these are the results that we're seeing based on the things that we're implementing that they do in their businesses that make them very successful. So as far as how my life has changed, is my vision for what I want to do is